that Spawn has a black man. A, why not? Because I got kind of tired with the fact of, like, you got Clark Kent, you got Bruce Wayne, you got Peter Parker. But I also did Spider-Man. And from Spider-Man, I never got around to doing the story because I quit before I got to do it. But it always struck me as strange that Spider-Man has this mask completely covering his face. But we always just assumed or talked to him like he was a good old white boy. And since nobody knew his identity, why would we make that assumption? And so I always want to do a scene where some guy in Wall Street gets mugged by some guy from Harlem, if you want to take stereotypes. And Spider-Man comes in and he webs the guy up and the mugger up, and then turns to the Wall Street guy and the stockbroker, and he goes, those friggin', and he uses his derogatory statement. And Spider-Man takes this guy and pins him against the wall and points to his own face and says, "What color do you think I am underneath this mask?" And the guy goes, "Ooh." I found that the look of him without the mask, for me personally, is a lot more appealing when he's burnt because, A, you get to see his eyes, you get to see his emotion, you get to see him talking, and it's just not a guy muffling under an enclosed mask. And because he is kind of generic, you get this kind of, is this a sci-fi movie? Is this kind of a horror movie? I mean, what is this? And it doesn't fall into the same trappings as your traditional standard superhero comic book that, again, a lot of people would be bringing that kind of, useless kind of label to the show. The darkness of what we present here is not social commentary. So I'm not trying to say that because his world's dark and bleak, that means that, America as we know it is going to the pits and, our society is coming apart at the seams. It has nothing to do with that. It's really just about, again, going back to why does he get his powers from hell? Because to me, again, it's like the biggest bad guy, is the devil. Okay, simple. It's no deeper than that. So the darkness makes sense in the fact that if you're going to present a character that basically is burnt and charred and has these kind of vampire qualities to him, that he's back from the dead, he doesn't look like you and I, he has the red cloak, he hides around at night, that again, that he works better in this world, and it's not anything deeper than that. If you allow people to present ideas, but most people don't approve of it, then it won't sell. If it doesn't sell, the product will go away. Where we have a tendency in this country to say, no, we don't even want you to present the idea. And we ran into that with this movie right here. When we go to the ratings people and we go, oh yeah, it's about this hero from hell. Pardon me, would you say? Hell, strike one. We're already at strike one. And he lives in the alleys and it's in shadows 80% of the time. Strike two. They will give you an R rating on some level if you have a movie completely taking place in a graveyard at midnight, and all the people are doing are saying, please pass the tea and crumpets, they will still give you an R rating to some degree. They will argue they won't, but they're lying, that they will give you an R rating because they don't believe that an 8-year-old kid should be exposed to people sitting in a dark, foreboding world in front of crosses in a valley of the dead talking about lemonade. And so it's not even about what they're doing, or there's no violence, there's none of this. And so when we wrote the script to this movie, there was never to be any extensive violence, there was never to be any nudity, there was never to be any coarse language over and above what you can normally get away with. And it wasn't about any of those things. And they still gave us an R 5 times before we finally had to make cuts so that we could present the PG-13 version. And it was because we already had two things working against us. Hell, whoa, you guys better tread a very fine line, and it's dark, whoa. And so now, if you shoot a gun, hold a sec, and we go, what do you mean, there's 1,000 PG-13 movies that shoot guns. Yes, but they're not from hell and dark, okay. So once you start dealing with certain themes, people get kind of weird about it, and it's one of the things that will always make Spawn kind of on the edge. That is either the exact same thing that either repulses people about it or attracts them to it. That those that don't like it will say, well, it's dark and edgy and I don't kind of get it because it's just weird. And the people like it go, well, why do you like it? Because it's dark, it's edgy, and you should see it, it's really weird. And so it's kind of, they almost like repulse each other. But to me, so many things they've taken so many ideas our country and polished them so that there's no way anybody can get nicked on it. It's so safe. Make sure nobody can get a little bit of a cut, and make sure that everybody approves this, and make sure that, make sure the women's group and the Indian group, and make sure the blind society, and make sure the truckers. I mean, you know what? 200 years ago, there's a great wise man that once said, you can't please all the people all the time. He was the president of your country, for God's sake. But you know what? Somehow that's not good enough for corporate America. That Lincoln figured out you couldn't please them all, so don't try. The movie is, in my mind, ultimately chapter 1 of about a 200-chapter story. And so if we ever do a sequel, the second movie isn't just going to basically repeat what we've done in this movie. What it will do is it will then advance into chapter 2, bring in new people and move the mythology forward, which in this case, people might stay away from it, especially mommy. Sorry, Mom. When I first approached Hollywood about making the Spawn movie, they said, Todd, what would you like to do if you were completely in control of it? And my answer was, I'd take the $35 million and I'd make it animated, and I'd make it like an R-animated movie, and I'd do something that would either completely flop in this country or would basically make us trendsetters. And so, to me, I've always been the guy that wants to go down the path less traveled, because, again, either you go, it's a suicide mission. Anytime you try to do something different, they're like, he's going to fail. What's he thinking of? You can't do it that way. So even if you fail, you got nothing to lose, because it was already suicide. But if you live through the suicide, if you're in that car going 100 miles an hour to the wall, and you hit the wall and you get this great big explosion and you die, that's okay, because it was like, wow, that was a pretty cool looking death. But if you live through it, it's a miracle. And all of a sudden you go from being a lunatic and a psycho to being a creative genius. And look at this guy, isn't he so smart? I'm telling you, the labels get peeled on and off me so quickly within a matter of days, depending upon ultimately how much cash goes into somebody's pocket, the corporate giant's pocket. And then from there, if they're making money, then they go, oh. But the funny thing is, the thing that still amuses me to this day, which is why you got to keep reinventing yourself and don't get complacent, is that as soon as you show them you can do it another way, and that their way isn't necessarily wrong, it's just that there's another way to get to the party. There's 10 different routes to the party. You don't have to keep going down Main Street and turning left at Jones. Is that we're going to take a different way. Then once you go, can't do it. Once you do it, once you have the fortitude to get past all of that and do it, and it is successful, so there's a bunch of hurdles you got to get over, then they go, it can be done, it is successful, do 20 knockoffs of it. And all of a sudden becomes status quo. What you were going is like, no, I don't want to do status quo. Whoosh, becomes status quo. So then you have to end up basically reinventing your new stuff so that, again, if Spawn, let me just tell you, if Spawn made $300 million worldwide, they would be staring at each other going, what we need is dark superheroes. That would it. That's as simple as they would look at the Spawn movie, and they would go, dark superheroes. I wouldn't even doubt they would change Batman and go, gotta make him dark. Spawn was made twice as much, gotta make it dark. It's as simple as that. They have knee-jerk reactions, and they just want to basically go, let somebody else do it, show us it's successful, then we will come back and do cheap imitations of it. So on some level, I hope that Spawn is a moderate success, so that, again, I keep going to these areas where I'm kind of a one-of-a-kind guy, because on some level, it's easy to win a race that you're not in with anybody. It's like, oh, good, I came in first and last. Again, it depends on whether you think that that's good or bad. But if people go to the left, I've always gone to the right. Never get married to the right. And then as soon as people go to the right, go to the left. Just always go where they're not. And so it was easy. And let's take Spawn. They're doing cute, cuddly, nice, politically correct stuff. I'm gonna do a movie about hell, PG-13. I don't got much competition. I'm telling you, because I'm the only guy out there doing that. Woohoo! Good. Whether it's good or bad, I'm the only guy dumb enough, I guess, or brave enough, either one, I'll agree with either one, that wants to present an idea about hell to the masses. Okay. And as soon as everybody does hell, I'm going to heaven. Or I'm going to do that Buddhist story that I have been saving up for. So. I hope you enjoyed the R-rated director's cut here, and that you'll see that some of the added footage was actually necessary in bringing up the enjoyment level of it. Most of you have probably seen both versions, and hopefully you'll agree with us that it was necessary to have in some form the true presentation of what we set out to do, and that you'll see that it made for a better picture. See you around. Bye.